Welcome back to another episode of Making Motherhood Magical. I am your host, Jamie McBride, and I am super excited to start today's episode. This is going to be the first in a series of 4 weeks of going through moon phases. So we are going to start with the new moon today. But before we get started with the new moon, we are going to draw a card from our brand new Seasons of the Witch Ostara Oracle. This episode will be the second card that we draw. We drew one last week for Ostara, but these are gorgeous cards. In case you missed it or in case you didn't see, please, this is worth watching on Spotify or YouTube. They are the most beautiful peach color. They've got some rabbits and some beautiful wildflowers. They always have the most gorgeous foil edges, and these are like this very ethereal lavender, peach, silver, gorgeous. Oh my gosh, they're so pretty. So let's give them a little shuffle and see what we need to focus on this week, this second week in Ostara season. I don't know about you, but the birds are coming out in the morning and singing, and honestly trying to steal my seeds. I went to the Dollar Tree the other day and bought some of those like party decorations that have like the metallic fringe that hang down, and I'm hanging it around where I'm planting seeds so that they don't eat up all my seeds. Last year I planted, I don't know, probably 150 marigold and 150 zinnias and probably 50 sunflowers, and they ate about, I would say, between 85 and 90% of the seeds before they even bloom, started to sprout. And then after they sprouted, they loved all those little sprouts, and so then they ate them also. So my flower selection was very slim last year, and this year it is not going to be. Well, we have one that popped out, and I like it because it is the one that was on the front of the card. It is the hare. It says, "There is magic in the balance of all that we are." And there's a picture of a hare jumping over a sleeping maiden that is surrounded by a fairy ring of mushrooms. And she is in a beautiful forest in the night, during the night. So let's see what the hare card has to say to us this week. If I could find it. A few more down. Oh, one too far. All right, there's the card again. The hare. Keywords are androgyny, giving and receiving, and awareness. In Europe, hares are thought to be androgynous, and in early Britain, it was believed they could shift from one gender to another. This is likely due to the fact that there is very little difference between the male and female hare, and when hare appears, it calls on you to express both male and female energies in pursuit of your endeavors. Your gender identification does not inform how you express this energy, as all beings have masculine and feminine vitality within them. Feminine energy is your source of intuition and beauty and your ability to receive, while masculine energy fuels your drive and encourages you to take action and set boundaries. When receiving this card, know that you are ready to act on your goals, but must do so in a balanced way. Use your feminine nature or the subconscious mind to check in with your heart, asking yourself if choice is a true expression of who you are. Then lean into your masculine side or ego to put your plans into action. Both sides nourish and support one another, and in doing so, aid in your growth and evolution. This card can also mean the dance of giving and receiving, listening and speaking, or balancing periods of rest with activity. This is a great card for this new moon week. As I said, we are going into not just a new moon, but the first new moon of the new astrological year. So this is a very, very powerful new moon. It is in Aries. It is going to be on Saturday. So this will air on Monday and the actual moon will be on Saturday. So you have all week to decide what you want to do to celebrate this new moon. Importantly, the sun is going to be in Aries, the moon is going to be in Aries, but there is also going to be a solar eclipse. It is mostly going to be visible for North Canada and above the Great Lakes. I will screen share with you really quick so you can see, if you are watching the video, where it is going to be. So if you look right here, it's going to hit part of Spain and France and Germany, part of the United Kingdom, Iceland, Greenland, and then kind of like the Nova Scotia and Quebec side of Canada. I think that's the side Nova Scotia's on, because Saskatchewan's on the other side. I'm pretty sure I'm right on my geography there. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. But as you can see, the darker the color, the more visible it's going to be. So if it's around this color, that's going to be 100%. And then it scales outwards. So it's not going to be visible at all where I live in Colorado or most of the North America. But just know, just because we can't see the eclipse doesn't mean it's not happening. It's still happening. So just know that you can tap into that energy. And so, yeah, that's going to be cool. I will also share the link in the show notes. So that way, if you did not see this on YouTube or Spotify where the video is available, then you can access it through the link that I will put on the show notes. But one of my favorite ways to work with the moon is I like to work with, if you've ever heard of them, they're called the Moonology. There's a book, there's a deck, there's a couple decks actually. There's journals, there's calendars. One of my favorite calendars last year was one of those day-by-day desk calendars that was by Moonology. The lady that does Moonology is named Yasmin Boland, and she distributes her work through Hay House. So this is her Moonology deck, which I do use some of. I use this Moonology manifestation deck a little bit more. I like the way that the cards are split up, but for every month, what I like to do is I like to start with my new moon card. And then I like to go with my first quarter card, my full moon card, and my last or third quarter card. I do this and I make almost a sentence out of them. So, for example, for the upcoming month, and this will be the 4 weeks that we're going to be doing this series. So we'll go deeper each week. This week is our new moon week, but the new moon is in Aries. It says, go for it. Go for it. This card heralds good news. Opportunities are abound and the outlook is positive. Go through doors that are opening to you. Even if you feel a long way from your goal, keep pushing forward, keep going. That is what that Aries new moon wants out of us. And as we just read with the hare, that is what the hare wants out of us. The hare wants us to be guided by our intuition, but to take action, to go for it. This Aries new moon wants us to chase our dreams with childlike enthusiasm, and it wants you to expect your desires to be satisfied. So right now I'm doing very specific for this Aries new moon. We will just talk generically about new moons, but since we're starting with such a big new moon, which is why I saved this series to start now. I think that starting with the astrological new year and starting with that first new moon of the new year is just a great place to really start working with the moon. But with this Aries new moon, do not sit around just making plans. Take action. Aries is all about action. Aries is a bit impulsive, to be honest with you. Aries is the first sign, it is a fire sign. My oldest daughter is 22. She will be 23 very, very shortly. She is an Aries and she is all about let's do this. It's a very bright fire. It burns very quickly. Sometimes it burns out. Sometimes Aries don't follow through with stuff. But this moon is wanting you above all else to take action, to chase your goals. Believe in divine timing. All things happen in divine timing. So trust your feminine intuition that what is coming to you is coming at the right time. Sometimes when crappy things are happening, it's hard to be like, this is divine timing, but it honestly is divine timing. So just trust the universe, trust spirit, and trust that you will know what decision to make towards that next action. If you are chasing love or in a new love situation, or maybe you're happily married for 16 years like I am, when it comes to love this week, make the first move. Take that step to go above and beyond for the love that you have for other people. Don't be afraid to ask for what you want, to ask for your desires, to express what you want. And if you are dealing with finances, be proactive. Let that fire energy lead you towards the next phase. Your manifesting mindset for this new moon, this Aries new moon, is to be driven, to take action, and to freaking ditch any doubt that you have. Trust your intuition, leave all the rest of that shit behind because you've got this. One thing that is very helpful during this Aries new moon is to help yourself have more courage, because courage is usually what we're lacking when we do not take action. So if you are afraid to take action, you do need more courage. So some ways to manifest more courage. One, call on Archangel Ariel. Archangel Ariel is associated with spring and is a wonderful holy being to appeal to when you need courage. Another thing that you can do to help build your courage is to call in the energy of Mars. Mars rules Aries. Mars guides the sign of Aries. And so with the moon being in Aries and the sun being in Aries and it being a new moon all together is going to make it a great time to call on Mars. So a quick aside about Mars. Mars is a planet of physical energy and action. It governs sex drive, forcefulness, aggression. It also governs energy, boldness, the will to win, and the ability to turn ideas into action. Mars literally spurs you into action. And I thought this was cool. You know, I'm Jamie Mae Bright. I've been Mrs. Bright for a little while. And so I thought it was really cool because the name Mars means bright and burning one. Mars is often a planet that we can see burning red in the sky. And so you might check your astrological forecast for your area to see if there's, any time in this moon cycle, this lunar cycle, that you can see Mars outside. So yeah, boost courage, get in touch with Mars, get in touch with Ariel, get in touch with yourself, and then trust your intuition to know that you are going to make the right action. You are going to take actionable steps towards your intentions, towards your goals, towards your desires, and you're going to do it with a fiery, force that is behind you. One way to help boost courage is to light a candle. I'm all about candle magic. I love candle because we're dealing with Mars and we're dealing with energy and we're dealing with forward momentum. Red is a great color to choose for that candle. Now, as I've stated in the past, you can light any freaking color candle you want. There is no wrong way to light a candle. A white candle can stand for any color that you want, just as a clear quartz can stand for any crystal that you want. But if you have a red candle, you might want to use a red candle. And then ask Ariel and Mars for their assistance. Place your hands on your heart chakra and breathe in courage. Just take a deep breath. And with each breath, see yourself embodying the courage that you need to take the next step. Because you've got this, man. You've got this. It's the beginning. It's a new beginning for you to head in whatever direction it is that you want to head. Now, if you want to do this ritual outdoors, that's great. I love doing every ritual that I can possibly do outdoors. Now, lighting a candle in Colorado outdoors is very hit or miss. Where I live, the way that the wind comes off the mountains, we're kind of in like a bowl underneath where the mountains are. It is windy here 90% of the year. So, do I light a lot of candles outside? No, not really. But if you are somewhere where you can light a candle outside, please, please, please go get that energy outside during your ritual. Another thing to incorporate into this ritual when you call on Mars and you call on Ariel is do it on a Tuesday. Now, like we said, Saturday is going to be the actual new moon, but the day after this episode airs, it's a Tuesday because this will air on Monday. So if you want to do your ritual on Tuesday, you could even get a larger red candle, like a taper candle, which I have around here somewhere. Here's one. If you had a large taper like this, you could light it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and you could light it for a certain amount of time each day. And granted, this one's blue, but you could make it red, you can make it orange, you can make it white, whatever color you want. But Tuesday is Mars's day. And so I always like to line up rituals with the planetary alignment of their day. So that would be a Tuesday in the case of Mars. Now, Aries. Aries is a cardinal sign. I also pulled out of the Moonology deck the cardinal moon. It says, be bold and make the first move. So far for this week, we've got Aries new moon, go for it, and cardinal moon, be bold and make the first move. So lots and lots and lots of fiery action moving us forward this week. Cardinal signs are known for being leaders, trendsetters, and initiators. Aries is the first cardinal sign. So it's a very strong cardinal sign. Cardinal signs like to take matters into their own hands. So it is telling you to take your matters into your own hands. Don't wait for something to happen this month, this week, today. Take it in your own hands. And really, really consider how strongly do you really want something? Because how strongly you want it is how strongly you are going to go after it. And that is exactly what this Mars and Aries new moon is all about. You want to steer the events where you want them to go. This is not a time to go with the flow. Now, I don't mean don't be in touch with the universal flow. I think universal flow is always trying to give us what we need. But now is the time that we need to determine what we need, and we need to steer those things in our favor the way we want them to go. This is our new year. This is our new moon. This is our fiery time to get shit going. Be bold. Follow your heart. But while you are doing that, avoid being reckless. Cardinal signs are easy to be reckless. The fire burns bright with this one. It really does. So be bold and follow your heart, but do not be reckless. So, as I was showing you the cards from the Moonology deck, these are the ones from the Manifestation deck. This is what the back of the Manifestation looks like. And this is what the back of the Moonology looks like. So you can see the difference. But I am going to read you the sentence that formed from putting these 4 moons together. The moons that we're going to have is we're going to have the Aries new moon on the 29th. Then we're going to have the first quarter in Cancer, which very quickly moves into Leo on the 5th of April. Then we're going to have the full moon in Libra on the 12th. And then we're going to have the third quarter in Aquarius on the 21st. So that's how this reads out. Go for it. Push through any insecurity. That's going to be that Cancer first quarter. Find a balance. That's going to be our full moon this lunar cycle. Libra's all about balance, and Libra wants us to find a balance around the full moon, around the middle of the month. And then we're going to close the month out with the third quarter in Aquarius, and it says reflect on your priorities. So when you read that all together, it says go for it. Push through any insecurity, find balance, and reflect on your priorities. So think those through over this next lunar cycle, and you will be able to kind of have a little guide of the whole month right at your fingertips, right at the beginning of the month. You get a sentence to help you decide how to move forward in your month. So let's talk just new moon in general, not the Aries new moon, although we will probably keep touching on that since that's what we're in, but just the new moon in general. Every single 28 days, we have a new moon. What is a new moon? A new moon is the phase of the moon when it appears invisible from Earth because the illuminated side of the moon faces away from our planet. It occurs when the moon is between the Earth and the sun. And I have in my notes a fun family activity. A fun family activity is to get a flashlight and like a tennis ball to represent the moon, and maybe a soccer ball or like a beach ball, a larger ball to represent the Earth. And you take that flashlight, we're going to pretend like the candle's the flashlight. You take that flashlight and you point it towards your moon, and you have your moon, and then you have your Earth over here. And so you view it from over here where your Earth is. And you're going to notice that no part of the moon is illuminated from the Earth side because of where it's located. My kids love, love, love doing any sort of lunar activity like that, especially if you can involve flashlights and balls. They're in like Flynn. So you might think of doing that with your kids and do it, play around. Make a lunar eclipse, make a solar eclipse, move where the moon moves around the Earth, move the sun around the Earth, move it all around, and let your kids experiment with what it looks like with that illumination from the sun coming towards the moon and the Earth in different angles. So, like I said, our lunar cycles last about 28 days. The new moon is the first phase of the lunar cycle. It is the phase that is a time for new beginnings and setting intentions. So that's every new moon. Every new moon, you get to have a new beginning and you get to set new intentions. You get to move from the past and you get to start fresh. During the new moon, it is a great time to start to learn a new skill. So, say you want to learn how to crochet, start crocheting around the new moon. Let that new moon energy help inspire you to start something brand new. It's great for starting new projects. Say you have a big project coming up at work, put it off just a little bit until the new moon and then ride out that new moon energy to help get that project really moving. It's also a great time to make new decisions. So maybe you're on the fence about something and you just really don't know what the best course of path is, then spend some time meditating with the new moon. Trust your intuition and know that making a new decision is something that you have inside of you. You can do this. And doing it at the new moon is a great time. Now, one of the main things that most people that follow the moon cycles and believe in, the power of the moon, we set intentions because the new moon is a time to clarify goals and set intentions for the month ahead. In my planner, I'm going to see if I can pull it out without messing up everything. I have a spot in the front that I think it's for like monthly goals or something, but that's not what I use it for. I use it for my monthly intentions. I can find it. Here we go. So every month I set a different intention and I write it right here. So I started with March of last year. Well, I actually started with April of last year. So I've got April, May, June, July, August, September, and it goes. Sometimes I draw little pictures. Sometimes I just write my intention, but I try to write down something at the beginning of every month that my intention is for the month. I often try to incorporate whatever energy of whatever different sign we're in. So Aries new moon, I'm going to focus more on Aries energy. Next will be our Taurus new moon. And so I'll focus more on grounding and beautifying and making my life more comfortable. And then comes the Gemini new moon, and that's all about communication and about collaboration. And so depending on what sign the new moon is, you can tap into that energy to help you through that whole lunar cycle. I am going to leave a link in the show notes for a book that I really like. It is called The Only Astrology Book You Will Ever Need. I don't technically think it's the only astrology book you ever need. I think everyone needs a copy of Parker's Astrology, which I can leave a link for that too. But The Only Astrology Book You'll Ever Need is a fantastic book. And I got a lot of the information as far as the signs go out of that book. It's very, very helpful in a lot of different ways. But at the new moon, you want to focus on what you want to cultivate in life. What are you growing? What are you starting new this month? What are you leaving behind? That's, when we move into a new moon, we're finishing up with the third quarter, and the third quarter is all about reflection. And so once you reflect on what happened the month before, figure out what you want to leave behind. Hey, you know what? That isn't for me. I don't want to do that. Let's move on to this. And that's what the new moon's all about. You get that fresh chalkboard every month. And I'm not talking the fresh chalkboard, and I'm talking old school chalk. Yes, I am. I'm not talking the one that you're using the dusty eraser to erase what's up there. I'm talking about when the custodian comes in and gets out their special spray and cleans those flipping chalkboards until it looks brand new. That's the new moon energy. That's the blank slate energy that we get to have every single lunar cycle. So I say setting intentions. Well, what is an intention? Gonna go super simple. What is an intention? An intention is a plan or idea that you want to carry out or something that you mean to do. Intentions also are very, very feminine. So they have a lot to do with how you may want to feel. So you may want to feel more abundant. You may want to feel more spacious. You may want to feel more confident. Those are all great intentions. Now, there is a difference between goals and intentions. Goals are more solar based, they're more masculine, they're more structured. Intentions are more feminine based, more moon based, more intuitive based. So let's break down a few and talk about how they're different. For example, a goal. I want to be in better shape. Okay, that's a great goal, to be in better shape. But that's what that is. That's a goal. That's not an intention. Now, if you say, I intend to walk for 40 minutes on the treadmill 4 times a week, yes, that also sounds like a goal, but it is your intention to make sure that you do that. So that is an intention. You can also, like I said, work it into feelings. I want to feel confident when I say no to carbohydrates and sugar. So we took, I want to be in shape, that goal, and broke it into 2 different intentions. You could also, a third intention associated with that one goal is I will be intentional with my time to make movement a part of every day. So goals, solar, larger, intentions break down. It's like the little steps, the little things that we need to do to get to that larger goal. And it is okay to have new goals every month too. I am not opposed to new goals. I personally like to set certain goals at the beginning of the year, which, since this is my beginning of the year and I have my brand new planner, now is when I'm planning those things. Now is when I'm setting those solar goals. Now is when I'm redefining what my North Star is going to be for the year. So now is a great time for me to physically write down these goals. What are my goals for the year? What are my goals? I put them in 3-month increments. What are my goals for the next 3 months? What are my action steps on how I'm going to get there? What are my intentions on how I'm going to feel as I accomplish these goals and these intentions? So goals are great, intentions are great, but don't put too much pressure on yourself, especially every month. Like, it, as I like to say, or as my dad actually liked to say, keep it simple, stupid. You do not have to make this hard. An intention can be so, so simple. There is no rule that says everything has to be complicated. In fact, in magic, in my life, y'all all know I'm okayist, and I hope y'all are okayist too. We can set okayist intentions. We can set an intention to only let our children have microwave popcorn for dinner once a week this month. Now, I don't let them have it once a week. I might let them have it once a month. But you get what I'm saying. You do not have to make this complicated, and you do not have to make this hard on you. This is supposed to help you set a framework for what you are wanting to feel and do and accomplish in the next month. So, what can we do besides set intentions that are good practices to have during the new moon phase? First and foremost, I believe in cleaning your space. And I don't just mean cleansing, like let's burn some sage and cleanse this. I mean freaking cleaning. Declutter. Clutter in your house is clutter in your mind. If your house is cluttered, your brain is cluttered, your life is cluttered, your car is probably cluttered, your desk at work is probably cluttered. So the new moon is a great time to declutter. I spent an hour decluttering my desk. Now you can't see my desk that I'm sitting at, but I kind of have a table over here to my left and a table over here to my right, and it's kind of makes a big U. And I spent an hour going through, taking stuff off my desk that doesn't belong here. My kids like to use this computer, so they very often leave their shit here. So I cleaned out their stuff. I also tends to be a dumping ground for anything that's mom. So just put it on my desk. So a lot of that stuff I had to take other places that mom needed to deal with it. I take a lot of stuff out to my office, but it felt so good to be able to sit down at my desk and just not feel cluttered. I also, another thing that I did this week is I did a few deep cleaning things, deep cleansing things. Like, this is really bizarre, but okay. So I have to do all of my dishes by hand. So I have a drying rack, and sometimes the plastic part that catches the water, mine doesn't drain into the sink. It just kind of holds itself and it gets really funky. And so I took it out. I sprayed it down with Clorox bleach spray. I scrubbed it really good. I washed it with some Blue Dawn. I let it dry. And then I also have like a drying pad that has like the lunar phase on it. And anyway, it's a witchy looking drying pad. But lately it's just kind of looked gunky. And so I filled the sink with hot water, put some Blue Dawn in there. I just started scrunching it in there. Oh my gosh, it was disgusting. It made me embarrassed to think that I dry my dishes on it. And it's just one of those things that I clean that I don't clean very often, but I was like, this is gross. Let's do this. So I cleaned it. Or maybe it's wiping down your windowsills. It's very easy to make a cleansing spray or cleansing material. I don't know what to call it. Potion. You can call it a potion if you want to. But you can take water, white vinegar, any sort of essential oils that you might like. You might want to put a little bit of salt in it. And you can use that to wipe down your windowsills, to wipe the grime off of your doors. I know that my kids' Grubby's hands, it seems like everywhere their hand can touch on the door frame, there's some sort of gunk. And it doesn't help that my husband's 6'4" because his gunk reaches much higher than my children's gunk. But just take a quick wipe down, wipe some things down. It doesn't have to be everything every month. Now, if you have it in you to do it every month, you rock on. I don't have it in me to do it every month. So I get some of it some month, I get some of it other months. I don't get everything every month, and that is okay. So just do what you can, but know that the more you start with a fresh, clean, cleansed house at the beginning of the month, the smoother your month is going to be, and the more your intentions are going to be first and foremost, because you're not having to worry about this gunk. You're already focusing on what you're moving forward towards. A lot of people like to cleanse with sage. I personally, thank you to my nanny, I do not like the smell of sage. I do not like to burn sage. I will put sage in a simmer pot and I will cook with sage and I will make a cleansing potion with sage, but I am not going to be the person that has a sage smudge stick. I would much rather smoke cleanse with incense or with pine. I do a lot of pine cleansing during the winter months because to me, with it being an evergreen, it just, I don't know, it just makes me feel like there's some freshness in the air whenever I cleanse with pine. I will also cleanse with mullein, especially if anyone has a cough or any sort of upper respiratory stuff going on. Mullein is great for that. And to be honest, I live in Colorado. I do a lot of smoke cleansing with cannabis. Cannabis is one of the most magical substances on this planet that God has given to us to enjoy and to use. And I think that it is a very, very powerful cleanser for smoke cleansing. So don't discount whatever, whatever kind of smoke you want to cleanse with. There's not a wrong way to do it. So, like I said, wipe things down, remove your grime, do your smoke cleansing. Our environment is literally a physical manifestation of our mind. So when we can set the month off really enjoying, just it feels so good to sit down and be like, oh, the house is not a total wreck. Mopping is also another thing that's very easy to do. That do I do it enough? Probably not. I live in a dirt pit with a dog and children and a husband. And yes, I Swiffer. Yes, I sweep freaking every day. And it feels like I can never sweep enough. But just know the more that you can cleanse out whatever is left over from the month before, the easier it is going to be for that energy to flow to you and flow through you during the next lunar cycle. So set yourself up for a win during the new moon phase. The new moon phase is also a great time to meditate. I think it is very important to dedicate extra time to meditation and to chanting. I know a lot of people are scared to chant. I highly recommend finding either on YouTube or Spotify different chants that you enjoy. I added to my like playlist library. It's called My Bhakti Heart. It is by Rebecca Campbell. If you're not familiar with Rebecca Campbell, get familiar with her. She is an amazing spiritualist and I adore her. I mean, Oprah adores her, so why wouldn't we all adore her? She's amazing. But she has a playlist that has a ton of great chanting. Because when you think about chanting, you are calling in your intention. You are using the power of your voice to get out into the world that vibration that you are seeking to come back to you. So don't be afraid to chant, even if you're chanting with someone else. Now, if you feel like you just want to chant all on your own, chant on your own. Get a drum, get a tambourine, get, whatever it is that you feel comfortable keeping a beat with and keeping a chant with. And just do it out loud. Don't be scared to use your voice to call your intentions in. Chanting also helps harmonize your thoughts. It helps reduce stress and it improves focus, as does meditating. I know it seems silly to take 5 minutes out of your day to meditate, but it will help you focus on the rest of your day in so many other ways that it is 100% worth every minute that you spend meditating. If you spend 15 minutes meditating, you will gain 45 minutes somewhere else during your day. Do it and watch the magic happen. I promise you. And teach your kids to meditate. That is something that I love about my kids' school is that they don't necessarily call it meditating, but they do spend a lot of time working on mindfulness, which is a huge part of meditating. And so the more mindful we are, the more present we are, and the better we are able to cope when there's something that we need to cope with. So we don't just immediately go into that cortisol response of that fight or flight. So meditate and chant. If you haven't tried chanting, try chanting this week. Go on YouTube, put New Moon and Aries chant and see what comes up. And then put it on, even if you have to put on your headphones so you don't hear yourself chanting. Some people don't like to hear themselves. Whatever it takes, just get some chanting in there. Get those words coming out of your throat chakra to tell the universe, I am ready for this next step. I am ready to do the next bold thing. So let's do this. Now, another practice to do during the new moon. Now, I'm not going to lie. This practice is one of my favorite practices to do in any moon. So I'm going to tell you how I like to do it in the new moon. But as we go through the next month, I will explain each phase and how I like to integrate this one practice throughout the whole month. And that is taking a ritualistic bath or shower. To me, there is nothing more peaceful than 20, 30 minutes alone in the bathroom. My kids know if I head to the bathroom with some incense and a candle or some essential oils, or, sometimes I'll take a radio in there or maybe just a speaker, a Bluetooth speaker hooked up to my phone. They know if mama heads to the bathroom with all that shit, that they better leave me the fuck alone until I come out. I don't care, come hell or high water. You can walk outside in the snow and take a poop in my office bathroom before you knock on that door while I am having a ritualistic bath or shower. Now, because it is the new moon and it is all about cleansing, a lot of people like to incorporate salt. Salt is a great cleanser. It gives you a clean slate. Also, remember that baking soda, they call it, let me think, sodium bicarbonate is what they call it in the UK. It is salt. It is a salt. And so you can use baking soda also. Sometimes it can be as simple as drawing a hot bath, sprinkling in some baking soda, maybe dropping in a few drops of your favorite essential oil, and bam, you've got a ritualistic bath. It does not have to be complicated. If you want to add in herbs and flowers, go for it. Some of my favorite herbs for the new moon are rosemary, lavender, mugwort, sage, peppermint, and basil. All of those are great cleansers, and they are great at helping you cleanse and detoxify your body. As far as flowers go, any of the white flowers are always great when you're working with the moon. Now, while the new moon is obviously dark, you can also work with dark flowers, especially if you're going to be doing any work with like Lilith or the Morrigan or any of those darker entities. Man, get some dark flowers to work with if you want to. But typically when you're working with the moon flowers are great. Lilies are great, especially white lilies, jasmine, evening primrose, white cosmos, white roses, and tulips. So those are all great new moon flowers to work with. I personally, when flowers are in season, I clip them while they're at their prime. I dry them and then I keep them in jars. So my studio outside is full of a home apothecary that is made up of all kinds of different dried things. So, for example, my 10-year-old daughter has been really, really into Aphrodite lately, and she made an Aphrodite altar, which I absolutely adore. But she was like, Mama, I need roses. I need roses for Aphrodite. So I took her outside to my apothecary and I pulled out, I think, 5 or 6 jars of different kinds of roses. I have wild roses. I have roses that I call the roses of true love because they're dried from roses that my husband has gifted to me. And let me tell you, my husband is not a here's a dozen roses on Valentine's Day. That's not how he rolls. I could give a shit less about roses on Valentine's Day. He is more of a man, I really love you. And today, it may be a Tuesday, but here are some roses for you because I love you. And so that's why I call them my roses of true love. They never feel like they're an obligation. Anytime my husband gives me roses, it is because he is just thinking about me. And to me, that is the purest love. So I let her go to town on whatever roses that she wanted for her Aphrodite altar. And the little wild roses, they're about, I don't know, a little bit bigger than a quarter. And they dried so beautifully to the prettiest peachy pink color. So it was just perfect for Aphrodite. And so I was happy to share that with her. But you can incorporate any of those herbs and flowers, either crushed up or non-crushed up. And the next part that we go to, you can also use them in, but you can just sprinkle some of them in your bath and call it a day and just relax. Light a candle, put on some music, light some incense, sprinkle some flowers, and freaking relax for 20 minutes. You'll be amazed at how renewed you can feel after just a little bit of a magical bath. Now, I make two in general scrubs that I use on a regular basis. One of them is a coffee scrub and one of them is a sugar scrub. During the new moon, obviously with it being dark, I use the coffee scrub. And for my cleansing coffee scrub, what I usually use to make it is coffee grounds. You can use new coffee grounds. You can even use old coffee grounds. I do suggest that if you use old coffee grounds, that you put them out on a baking sheet and just let them dry out so they're not moist. But that doesn't take but more than like a day. Okay, in Colorado, it doesn't take more than like a day. I live in the desert, so everything dries out quickly. But depending on where you live, it may take a little bit longer to dry out, but you can reuse coffee grounds as a scrub. So I'll take coffee grounds, brown sugar, once again, another dark element, another dark thing. And I will mix that. I will take like 1 part coffee grounds, 1 part sugar, and then maybe half a part of oil. It just depends. But if I use coconut oil, I will throw it in the microwave in a mug real quick so it's liquid. If I'm using almond oil, it's a liquid at room temperature, so I don't have to do that. And I will stir that up. Sometimes I will take a crystal tower. Once again, we're going to pretend like this is a crystal tower. So if I have my little cup of magical bath scrub stuff, I will take a crystal tower and I will stir up my ingredients with a crystal tower. And so maybe I'll use a moonstone crystal tower, or maybe I use a labradorite crystal candle. Or I don't recommend using any of the types of crystals that are more fibrous. Like I wouldn't recommend using tourmaline, and I wouldn't recommend using selenite, or as other people call it, satin spar. Those don't like to have moisture. They like to break apart. So anything that has a fibrous type of structure, I don't recommend using those. Use things that are a little bit harder on the Mohs scale. But so I've got my coffee grounds, my sugar, my oil. Then I might add a little bit of vanilla extract, or I might add a little bit of almond extract. Those are just 2 scents that I truly enjoy. You could even add a little bit of cocoa powder if you wanted to. There's another dark element for that new moon. And then any of your choices of those herbs and flowers that we talked about. And with it being oil based, I stir it up really good, and then I take some in my hand, and I usually start at the top of my head, and I scrub everything from the top of my head to the bottom of my toes. Now, granted, I got cocoa in there, I got coffee in there. I am going to look like a muddy, scrubby goddess by the time I get done using my scrub. But after I'm done scrubbing from top to bottom, while I'm doing that, I am usually physically visualizing the leaving of whatever it is that I am leaving behind in last month, so that I can have that brand new chalkboard clean feel. And then I will get in the shower. We have a detachable shower head, so it helps. It makes it easier, and you can also adjust it so it sprays a little harder than not. And then I will wash all of it off. And by the time you get off all of the coffee and the cocoa, what stays is that oil, and you are so moisturized. That's why I use it on my face also. I am not opposed to that at all. Some people are weird about what they put on their face. I figure if it's healthy enough to put inside my mouth, it's healthy enough to scrub my face with. So you're left with this moisturized, exfoliated body that just really does feel like a new, clean slate. And that's what we want at the beginning. That's what we want in the new moon, is to have the physical feeling of something new, a new, fresh slate. Now, another thing that people might like to do is to take a lunar milk bath. I personally am more into this during the full moon, so I will talk about it a little bit more. But you can literally take any of those flowers or herbs that we talked about and take some milk, take a cup of milk, pour it in your bath, put in your herbs and your flowers, and just lay in there and soak in that milk. I like to add a little bit of oatmeal sometimes. It's very moisturizing. It is impossible to get out of my freaking dreadlocks. I made the mistake the other day of making a scalp exfoliator, which, if you are looking on the video online, you can tell that my scalp is well exfoliated. But I smelled like an oatmeal cookie, and it took about 45 minutes to get all the freaking oatmeal out of my dreadlocks, because oatmeal and dreadlocks, they don't go well together. But if you put your hair up and you put oatmeal in your bath with some milk and, whatever of the things we already discussed that you want in your bath, it can be a very, very relaxing lunar milk bath. Something else, people like to make moon water. I make moon water when the moon is full. The energy is high, the moon is full. But you can make moon water anytime you want. Anytime you are like, man, today kicked ass, go make some moon water. Get some of that energy in water that you can repurpose in other fucking ways. So you can make black moon water. And once again, if you work with some of the darker goddesses or gods, that is right up your alley. Go make you some new moon water. Use it for whatever you want. We'll do a whole nother thing on moon water, but that, I'll just leave it at that. With it being the beginning of the month and it being the new moon and it's having new beginnings, it is a great time to cut your hair, to trim it, to get a whole new hairstyle. Whatever it is that you're wanting, it's new. It's your new time. Get that new haircut. Also, great time to trim your nails. Don't forget to trim your pet's nails, your kids' nails. I am the absolute worst about remembering to trim my youngest nails. He does not bite his nails. He does not pick at his toenails. I have to trim them. I have to cut them with actual clippers. And when I remember to do it for myself at the new moon, I've gotten better at remembering to do it for him also. So take all of these different rituals and different practices and involve your kids in it. That's what this is all about. We're here to make motherhood magical. That doesn't mean make our life magical and make our kids watch. Make them be a part of it. Let them help you make a scrub. Let them decide what they want in a moon bath. You'd be surprised how quickly they learn the associations between different herbs and flowers, and how they will start talking about the moon phases. It blows my mind how much my youngest knows what moon phase we're in, what sign the moon is in, what sign the sun is in. He pays attention to all of that stuff, and he is 7 years old. I cannot wait to make some witchy hippie chick his wife in his 30s and him be like the perfect husband, because he understands to leave her alone because it is, fill in the blank, whatever sign. He will know because he's grown up on this, and I can't wait for him to find someone that appreciates all of the knowledge that he has been growing over the last 7 years. The new moon is also a great time to take plant cuttings. You can't see on the video, you can see some of my plants behind me, but I have plants everywhere. I have jars with propagations everywhere. I have boxes of seeds to start at any point in time. I have a calendar of what I started at Imbolc, what I started at Ostara, what I will start at Beltane, because I like to have everything growing in its natural cycle. And certain things take longer. And because I have a very short growing season, I like to stay on top of it. But the new moon is a great time to get those seeds planted, start those propagations, take the propagations that are ready from the month or two before and get them in some soil. So plants love the new moon and they love becoming new plants in the new moon. So that's another great practice. And that's another one that you can do with your kids. I currently have to my right some pothos ivy that my kids have been watching the roots grow for the last 3 months. And we will be this week putting them in dirt and letting them start their new life in their new pots. And I will hang them up and we will have all these new pothos ivy. Crystals. A lot of people charge crystals. I do not charge crystals at the new moon. I charge crystals at the full moon, which we'll talk more about at the full moon. But what you can do is set your intention. So once you decide what your intention, so let's say, because we're going with fiery energy and we're going with things that are forward momentum, maybe I'm trying to see what crystals I have just within my reach that I can do this on the fly. I have a piece of rose quartz that my husband gave me. It's just from the ground. I washed off most of the dirt, but I can hold this in my hand and I can set an intention that I want to feel more passionate and active in love this month. Do I want that? Yes. Is that going to be my intention for the month? Maybe, maybe not. But you can set an intention in a crystal and then carry that crystal with you throughout the month. So every time you look at it, you're like, yes, yes, I want to channel that fiery energy of love. And this rock, this crystal is going to help me remember. This is a great one because it's flat enough. You can stick it in your pocket. I wear leggings a lot. I love legging pockets. Also, I know a lot of us girls like to keep them in our bras. Another good flat one, they just go straight up against your boob and you won't even notice that it's there. Plus, I like this one because you can see that it has veins in it. And so it's got some fiery energy. So I might actually set an intention with this one on Thursday. Not Thursday, Saturday is the word I'm looking for. New moon's also a great time to start a vision board, especially with this one being the Aries new moon, the beginning of the astrological year. You can make a physical vision board. You can make a digital vision board. You can change the lock screen on your phone or maybe the background on your computer. Any picture that you can put up that helps you remember where you're headed, what your goal is, what you want to accomplish, how you want to feel. When we have a physical picture that we can see, it helps us remember, oh yeah, that's what's important to me. That is how I want to be on track. So don't be afraid to put pictures up all over your house. I'm also a big proponent of Post-its. I have Post-its all over this stinking place. I have Post-its with quotes. I have Post-its with information. I have Post-its with affirmations. I have Post-its with information. Don't be afraid to write it down and stick it somewhere that you see it. Take a picture. You want to move to Scotland? Take a picture of, Scotland and put it next to your desk. So every time you sit down, you see it and you're like, yes, this is what I'm working for. Vision boards are great and you can change it every single month. Now, this is not last and it's definitely not least, but I think that it is so important, especially at the new moon, to commune with nature because nature gives you so much inspiration for your intention. If I do not know what my intention is going to be for the month, I will go for a walk outside and I will walk until I get an epiphany. And when I get that epiphany, I will know what my intention is. And that is why I have not set my intention for this month yet. I will set it between now and Saturday, but I guarantee you it will involve me being outside in some way, shape, or form. Do not discount how inspirational nature is. Let nature get in touch with your intuition so that you can set intentions that truly mean something to you. If you set an intention because someone else said that that's what they were setting, it doesn't mean jack shit to you. It's not your intention, it's their intention. So make sure that you look for true inspiration when you're setting your intention so that you're truly trying to achieve what you truly want. Another great practice to have during the new moon is journaling. You can journal through each phase of the moon. We're going to talk today about journaling with the new moon. So what do you journal about? It's the new moon. Journal about your hopes, your dreams, your ambitions. Journal about what you want to accomplish this month. Think about this question. What would you do if anything was possible in the next 4 weeks? Because that is how we tap into that universal abundance that gives us what we want. I don't know if y'all have seen that reel where there's like a tuning fork and not a tennis ball, it's like a ping pong ball hanging on a string. And they hit another tuning fork and it's not the same hertz, and that ball does nothing. And then they get another tuning fork and they bang it, and that ball starts bouncing off of that tuning fork because they're the same vibration. They're setting each other off. So what you want to do is set your vibration for the next 4 weeks. Intend on what you want to accomplish. Intend on how you want to feel. And keep your mind so open that you feel in your heart that you really can accomplish anything you want. Anything. Don't limit yourself. At worst, you work on it again next month or the next month. Not all intentions come true in one lunar cycle. That's insane to think. It's not like you're going to get in shape in 4 weeks. That you didn't get out of shape in 4 weeks. You're not going to get in shape in 4 weeks. Also, ask yourself, what new skills would you like to develop? Journal about that. You know, like I said, maybe you want to learn how to crochet. Maybe you want to learn how to watercolor. Maybe you want to learn how to say no better. There's all kinds of skills that you can focus on, and the new moon is a great time to journal about it. Another great thing to journal on is how you can honor your emotions. That's something that we often forget. We're so busy as moms taking care of everyone else's emotions and everyone else's needs that we need to sit down and journal about what we're going to honor in ourselves. It just takes a minute to write it down. And once you write it down, I totally recommend saying it out loud, because when we speak things into existence, we speak that energy out into the world so that it can come back to us. During the new moon, when you're journaling, write your intentions of what you would love to create, experience, manifest, feel, focus on, any of those things. But write it down and give yourself a good 15, 20, 30, 45 minutes. Heck, an hour is great. Whatever amount of time you can allot is going to be time well spent. But focus on what you love to create, what you love to experience, what you want to manifest in your life for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones. Journal about how you want to feel. You want to feel confident. You want to feel comfortable. You want to feel safe. Whatever it is, there's no wrong answers. This is your journal. And like I said before, I am a huge proponent on these cheapo journals. I've got them everywhere. And there's, surprise, surprise, a sticky note on it. But yeah, these composition notebooks, they cost $1 or less. I like to get them after school supplies are on sale. I've gotten them as little as 10 cents a piece. Keep them everywhere. Journal in them. When you're done with them, if you don't want to keep them and read them later, burn them. That's a great way to just let it go, is burn it. Another thing I like to journal on is cards, card pools. I love Oracle decks. I love tarot decks. I love Lenormand decks. I love ruins. I love Ohm. I love any kind of divination, but I love to use it to journal at the new moon because it really helps me solidify those intentions that I'm feeling for the next month. So this is a 3-card draw, and I will put a link in the show notes for it also. But you can draw 3 oracle cards. You can draw 3 tarot cards. A lot of times I'll draw 3 of each. It's totally up to you. Whatever you want to draw. You can pull bones if you want to. If you read bones, pull 3 bones. Whatever it is you want to do. On the first one, you should focus. That is not the right thing. The first one, what I need to focus on during the next lunar cycle. Second one, what is the next step that I should consider? And third is, how can I expand my mind under this new moon? If you answer those 3 questions with a card pull every month and you journal it, and then you go back throughout the year and you look behind, in the past year, you will be shocked at how accurate it becomes when you look at it. Hindsight's 2020, they say. And that is the way I feel about card pulls. You may not understand it at the time you're pulling the card, but when you go back and look at it, even at the end of the next month, by the next new moon, look at the last new moon and be like, oh, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. That's so easy to do and to journal. Now, another thing that's great to do as a practice during the new moon is to either renew, or if you don't have one, to create a sacred space. Everyone should have a sacred space. And I highly recommend it being somewhere that your family isn't going to bother. I have little mini altars. You can see behind me. I have little mini altars everywhere. But my sacred space is somewhere that I sometimes share with my family, but I more than often do not share with my family. I have one indoor one that I have in my studio, and I have one outdoor one that I walk to with my dog, because my dog is sacred and I share my sacred space with him. But I do share both spaces with my kids and my husband if he feels like it. Usually he's doing his own thing. He has his own sacred space and rituals. But make sure it's a place that feels peaceful, and it's a place that you can focus on whatever it is you're focusing on undisturbed. So if that means behind a closed door, behind a curtain, walking for far enough away from your house that your family's not going to follow you, whatever it is, make sure you feel peaceful and make sure you feel undisturbed. Start by cleansing that space, whether that is, like I said, physical cleansing, wiping things down, or smoke cleansing. You can even just do an energy cleansing. And then what's important is to personalize that space. What is important to you? What's an object that means something to you? I have a sacred space up here to my right that I've mentioned before, that I have a few things that belong to my nanny. My nanny was my nanny. She was my grandmother that brought me home from the hospital. My mom lived with my grandparents when she had me. So it was my older brother and me and Nanny and Papa. And Nanny took care of me every day. And I can tell you, from the first day that I remember until the last day that I had with her on earth. If I had something wrong, if I didn't feel good, if I was sick, if I was stressed, if I was worried, there was one person in this world that I wanted to talk to, and that was my nanny. And I have a jar of her buttons that I keep up there. And sometimes I draw a button and carry it around with me. But just seeing that jar of buttons of hers brings such joy to me that it is very personal to me. Now, other people come over and they have no idea what's important about that jar of buttons to me, but it doesn't matter to me that they don't know. It's not their personal experience, it's my personal experience. So don't think that there's a wrong way to personalize your sacred space. When you're cultivating your space, make sure that it's a place that you can reflect at, you can meditate at, and you can cultivate a connection to spirit, because those are all really important with your sacred space. My space down at the creek, all of those things. I can reflect there, I can meditate there, and I feel closer to God when I am sitting there with my feet in the creek or the river than probably anywhere else in the world. Now, granted, I feel that way about most rivers, so it doesn't matter to me if it's a mountain river, if it's the river right down the street for me. Either way, you get my feet in the river and God is with me. So just make sure that whatever helps you cultivate a place of relaxation, meditation, and connection to spirit, that's all that matters, is that it resonates with you. It is important to regularly maintain the space with mindful intention to keep its sacred energy alive. So refresh things. I like to refresh my different sacred spaces seasonally. So I just got out all of my Easter Ostara spring stuff. I have Easter eggs everywhere, and I have rabbits, and I have, more pastel-y colored flowers. Whatever it is that helps you renew that energy of your sacred space, do that and do it regularly. Do it every new moon. It helps. It makes it easier to remember. Every new moon, I'm going to clean up in my sacred space. You can use your sacred space as you see fit or as you need it to be. You can change things with it every month. It could be the same for years. It doesn't matter. There's not a right or wrong way to do this. It can be inside, it can be outside, it can be seasonal, it can be anything you want. What matters is that it matters to you. So that is what I have for the new moon today. Next week, we will be talking about the first quarter moon, and we will talk a little bit about the phase that's in between those two. So, spoiler alert, that'll be exciting. We will draw another card from the Ostara deck. And yeah, takeaways from today. New moon, all about new beginnings. Start your slate fresh every month. Know that you have the universal right to have a clean, fresh slate every new moon. You do not have to carry this shit around from last month. Let it go. Enjoy your sacred spaces. Enjoy your wonderful sacred baths and showers. Enjoy your sacred time communing with nature. And moms, just make sure that you are taking the time to make magic every day for yourself, for your kids, for your family, and for your soul. Until next week, y'all just keep on making magic, moms. Thank you so much.